History's full of calendars. As a matter of fact, history is rooted in all kinds of calendars, and the Gregorian calendar that most of the Western world anyway pays attention to, and the way in which the world of business pays attention to, is a world that just had its so-called New Year, that is December 31st. From the moment that I was given the knowledge, I began this very long process of trying to get as many people as I could to understand that, in fact, December 31st, though it is the end of a calendar sequence, is not the end of the solar cycle. We are a planet, after all, that is totally dependent on the grace of the sun. And we orbit around that sun. We live within a solar conditioned field. And when you look at the Rave mandala and you look at the way in which the sun operates in terms of the Rave mandala, one of the mysteries of the Rave mandala, one of its beauties, of course, is its integration with the I Ching, and the I Ching's profound relationship to what we call genetics. And fundamentally, when you're looking at the mandala and you're looking at the 41st gate, and the sun will get to the 41st gate on January 22nd, and that will be the beginning of the Rave New Year. And that 41st gate is an extraordinary thing. That is, it is, in its relationship to genetics, it is the only initiating codon. And to understand that, if you think about genetics as being written out as an alphabet, that the very beginning of any genetic sentence, in fact, every genetic sentence, would begin with the 41st gate. It starts everything. When you see the 41st gate within the body graph, you see the essential purpose that's inherent in it. That channel, the 41 to the 30, that this channel of recognition that leads into the 35-36, the channel of transitoriness, that these two channels together form a stream that's called the human experiential way. Every January, as the sun enters into the 41st gate, we initiate a new experiential cycle, a new human experiential cycle on this plane. You know, for so long, there has always been this, pop culture thing about the disillusion of New Year's resolutions and the impact that that has on the psyche of people. What I'm going to show you in this special, and I will continue with it in our show next week, is to give you the stages of what leads up to the new year. In other words, the way, in fact, you do complete the cycle. And it begins with the sun in the 38th gate, the gate of opposition. When the sun is in the 38th gate, that's when we have our calendar new year. And the opposition of the 38th gate is the 39th gate, obstruction. This is deeply provocative energy. It is energy that can create dilemmas and situations. It is not an energy that is there for completion. You can tell when you get to completion, because the gate before the 41 is the 60th gate, and that's called limitation. That's the completion. That's the end of the cycle each year, when you get to that. But not the 38th gate, not when we have our calendar new year. You know, there is more tension. The 38-39 opposition is part of a right angle cross that's called the cross of tension. There's more tension being put out there on so-called New Year's Eve than anything else. The real process begins with the 54th gate, and we have part of that in our week this week. That is, last week and this week, we've been dealing with the sun in the 54th gate, the marrying maiden, the gate of ambition. And yet the 54th gate in its fourth line has something really extraordinary. It's a deeply, deeply mystical line, the line of endarkenment and enlightenment. The moment that the sun enters into the 54th gate, we have a stage in which we're really here to look, and to look clearly. The 38th gate that we get at New Year's is there to point us towards whether we have, in fact, found purpose or not in this life. And found purpose not so much in the life, but in the previous cycle. On New Year's Eve, the energy that's really there, the stage that you're really in, is not a stage about celebrating and looking forward to the future. It's about looking back and seeing, did it work? Did it work? You know, did you find purpose? Did you find your spirit? Did it work? The 38-39 polarity. See, it's the beginning of closing down the cycle. You begin to look back at that point. You begin to look and see, was there a purpose? You know, was it something that was fulfilling? And then you enter into where we are. That is the 54 with the 53 opposition. That 54, the ambition, the transformation. It's about beginning to look forward. It's about beginning to see who are my best allies. Who are those beings out there that I can work with, that I can trust, that I can rely on? Because it's a key to ambition and transformation. And its polarity is the 53rd gate. The 53rd gate is about beginning things. You see, this is the way the cycle unfolds naturally. And when you get to the main bulk of this week, the 61, the 62, the sun in the 61, inner truth. And on the other side, the 62, the facts, please, just the facts. You look back and see whether purpose and spirit have been fulfilled. You look to see those forces around you that have been there for you and those forces who have not been there for you, so that you can lay the groundwork for a new beginning. And then you look within yourself. That inspiration that will be there. Based on fact. Based on what's possible. Based on your own authority. Based on your power to realize your potential. And then you get to the 60 and you just let go. But we'll get there. It's a key to this week. It is a week of thinking. Thinking. You see, we're in such a hurry to move forward that we don't give ourselves time to assess. It's time to assess. If you have missed looking for purpose and spirit, if you have not looked back at those forces to see who was there for you and who was not, then it's time to do so quickly. And to put that in perspective, to give yourself what you need to point yourself forward as yourself, after all. To be continued.